Welcome to the next instalment in the Braidwood ride. To orient you, again, I'm on the Braidwood road heading closer to Braidwood in this clip, and I'm just enjoying the ride at the moment. And as you can see, the road at this point is in pretty good condition. There are guardrails where they need to be, lines on either side of the road, which is always helpful, line down the middle of the road, and guideposts on either side of the road. So at this point the road is being pretty well maintained, bearing in mind that we're now on the King's Highway. I am now on the King's Highway. In the last clip I think I joined the King's Highway from the Goulburn to Braidwood road, and the King's Highway is the main thoroughfare for people from Queanbeyan and Canberra to the east coast. So this road, and especially when you get beyond Braidwood, there are lots of overtaking lanes, and a lot of work has been done there as the road goes over the Clyde Mountain and then down into down the other side of it into Bateman's Bay. Now I'm trying to work out a way to sort of get around to talking about what I want to talk about. The purpose of these videos and the purpose of my video channel and my YouTube channel is just fun. I go out riding, I stick a camera on the motorcycle, turn it on, I film, and then I record the audio later on. Sometimes I talk about motorcycling things, sometimes I talk about the road, other times I talk about things that interest me, things that I've been thinking about or been on the news or been following for a while and have an opinion about. I follow another guy on YouTube, or I subscribe to the YouTube channel of another guy on YouTube who used to make motorcycle videos, and at some point in his making of those videos he decided he would change the function or the purpose of his channel to what he called becoming a Christian vlogger. And whilst he wasn't asking for people's advice, I commented on one of his videos when he was talking about losing subscribers because he was now talking about his faith and Christian values and things like that. And my advice to him was, not that as I said he was seeking my advice, but my advice to him was simply talk about things that you are interested in, talk about things you see as you're going through your day, talk about things that you see as you're out riding your bike, walking, shopping, whatever it is, and you'll see lots of examples of acts of human kindness and acts of people acting in good ways, and occasionally you'll see acts where you make you go, but just talk about those things and try and relate them to what you believe, what your faith is and so on. If there are people who are turned off by that, then I suspect they have a couple of choices. They can unsubscribe, as he said some were doing. They can turn down the sound, as you can do with this video if you don't want to hear me talking, or they can just tune in and enjoy it. I said to him at the time that I thought that if he lost subscribers, other people would take their place. There would be other people who would come across his channel through whatever means, whether it's Facebook or YouTube or wandering or hearing about it from someone else or whatever, and they would find things that he had to say that they thought were interesting, that they agreed with, and they would either subscribe or watch. Now I sort of take the same view with this. I don't have any commercial arrangements. I don't make any money out of these videos. I'm not interested in doing it for that purpose. I have a very amateurish setup with a camera on the bike and myself talking using the microphone in my laptop computer at a later date to record my audio. Just interrupting for a moment and coming into the outskirts of Braidwood, and on the right hand side is the Braidwood Showground, where the Braidwood Park Run is run on a Saturday, when Park Run is able to be run. Coming up to the 60 kilometre zone, you can see here the countryside is a lot more open, although there are a line of trees there on the right hand side. There's some of these poplar trees, I think they are on the left hand side. There's a lot of the area here that is almost treeless and much more open than country closer to Goulburn. So getting back to the YouTube channel, so as I said, I don't have any commercial arrangements and I don't do this to make money, I just do it for fun. I started out walking around Goulburn where I live and taking photographs of things and using very primitive software to make little videos about the places that I saw and add commentary to them and so on. I later on added the bedtime stories, which I did when my grandchildren were young enough to enjoy them. I think they're both probably too old for them now, but I know that lots of people do enjoy those stories, and I often see comments from people who've watched them. And I know that a lot of women, surprisingly, from the analytics use them. I guess they're teachers or something like that, and they use them for either in the classroom or their parents, and they use them as bedtime stories for their children. You can see in my channel I have videos about Tasmania, and I have now the running videos and the motorcycle videos and so on. And so I take the attitude that these are my videos. You're welcome to watch and subscribe. Just interrupting again, I'm going to take the left-hand turn to Nerriga in a moment here. I'm not actually going into Braidwood, so if you're interested in seeing Braidwood, you might have to wait for another video. I'm just going to take a left-hand turn and go to Nerriga, which is a little village beyond here, and I'll talk about that in a little bit later in the video. So, as I say, I take the attitude that I can talk about things. If you're offended by something I've said, or you don't want to listen to it, then just turn the sound down and enjoy the ride, enjoy the countryside. If you've got an opinion about something I've said, by all means offer a comment, and I will attempt to respond to your feedback, and hopefully you'll stay as a subscriber, and you'll find something that you like and something that you're interested in. And in that vein, I'm going to talk a little bit for a moment about social media and about YouTube in particular. Now, I know there are a lot of people who are concerned. Before I do that, I should state once again, this is not a paid advertisement. YouTube haven't asked me to say this. They don't give me any money. I'm just expressing my own personal opinion. When I started using YouTube, I was teaching, and I used it as a teaching resource. I would look for videos that were about things that I was trying to explain to my students that I was teaching, or I would look for things that went with the work I was doing with them. And then I thought, well, I can probably do this myself. I can probably make some videos myself, so I did. I see there's great value in social media. Yes, there are some concerns, and I'll mention those in a moment, but I see there is great value in it. There are people who live in all parts of the world, all corners of the world, who wouldn't otherwise meet each other or know each other, who can find they have similar interests and can share videos about the interests that they have and comment on each other's videos. And as I say, there are a host of things: running, motorcycling, Goulburn, Launceston, mostly Tasmania, mostly Launceston, bedtime stories and other things that are all parts of my channel. And I know that other people watch them and enjoy them. I've been able to find lots of other things that I've been interested in, and I've been able to look at videos that learn how to do some things that I wanted to do, and I've also been able to find videos that I can send to my children. One of my daughters was very keen on woodworking at one stage, so I used to send her some videos about things that she could make with her woodworking tools. Now, as to the concerns, yes, we can all be concerned that our children are spending too much time on screens, and we're spending too much time in virtual space or in spaces like this, rather than actually interacting with their parents or with their friends or family or whatever in a face-to-face situation. And that's a matter for the parents and the family to deal with, rather than just say all social media is bad and just ban it. There are some concerns I recognise with Facebook and the kind of people that use Facebook for the wrong reasons, who troll other people, who write caustic comments about people rather than just enjoying the things that people post and being positive in your comments, or if you can't find anything positive to say, then just moving on to the next thing. But I do find that there are some positive things in using things like YouTube and Facebook. Now, I don't have any other social media. I don't use Instagram or any of those kind of things. Just not interested in those things. I don't need them, and I'm not interested in them. Which is not to say they're not useful for other people by any means. It's just to say that I don't use them. So what I say, I guess, is enjoy YouTube for what it is. There are some things on there that are not always great. There is a sort of code of conduct, and providing you don't breach the code of conduct, you can pretty well post anything. You won't know that you've breached it until they either send you a warning saying you breached the code of conduct, or they deplatform you. but providing you don't use offensive language or incite violence or racist language or things like that, then you're probably pretty safe. Certainly, I feel that the things I do, I'm pretty safe with. So I'm not overly concerned about missing any of those things. Now, I was going to talk to you about the village, about Nerriga. Up this road here is a little village called Nerriga. To my recollection, there's a pub and a church, which I don't think there are any services at any longer, and I can't be certain if there's a school. Now, I went there about 5 years ago. What happened is I met my son, who lived in Queanbeyan at the time. I met him in Tarrago at the four-way intersection at Tarrago. He was riding his bike, obviously. I was on my bike. I had my wife on the back. We went up the road, straight up the road from the pub in Tarrago, and kept going, and eventually we got to Nerriga. We had lunch there. The day we went there, there were a number of other motorcycles parked at the pub, and I formed the view, I don't know if this is an accurate view or not, but I certainly formed the view that it was a popular place for motorcyclists to go. Once you get to Nerriga, you can go back to Braidwood this way, or you can go on to Nowra, and the road all the way to Nowra is sealed. There's a spectacular waterfall there called Gindra Falls, I think, and some lookouts, and it's a very good ride. And that's what made me think, good ride for motorcyclists. That's what made me think motorcyclists often went to Nerriga, and it was a popular place. Now, all this is relevant because, as I say, I went there about 5 years ago, and once we'd finished in Nerriga, we decided to go back, that'd be my son and I, we decided to go back to Braidwood. He wanted to get coffee and stroll around the stores for a little while and see if there were any records. He's a collector of vinyl. So we went back to Braidwood. At no point between leaving Nerriga and getting to Braidwood was there any sign on the road saying the road was unsealed. There was no point in anywhere on the road where it said the road was unsuitable for motorcyclists. And a very, very large section of the road was unsealed, and it was quite dangerous. He was boring along at a pretty good clip and felt confident with what he was doing. I had my wife on the back, so obviously I was being a little bit more cautious and going at a slower speed, and I don't know who was doing the right thing, but I certainly was very concerned about the state of the road and the possibility of a fall at any given point. Now, about a week or so after that, the then Deputy Premier of New South Wales, who's still the Deputy Premier, by the way, John Barilaro, announced that money was being allocated for the sealing of the road. And I think at the time they quoted something like a year for it all to be done. Now, all of this is relevant because I get on this road here this time. There are no signs on the road anywhere indicating, there are signs indicating where the next township is, that is Nowra. There are signs indicating there's no petrol until you get to Nowra, which is 110 kilometres away or so. There's not a single sign indicating that parts of the road are still unsealed. Not a single sign indicating that any section of the road is unsafe for motorcyclists. And so I assumed that since the announcement was made 5 years ago that the road would be sealed, that it had all been sealed, and I set off on this trip. Now, had I have seen a sign that said, parts of the road unsafe or unsealed or unsuitable for motorcycles or whatever, I'd have had two choices. One, ignore them and keep going, thinking it was an old sign or that the road had been sealed now or whatever. Or two, turn back to Braidwood and go home or go somewhere else. If I'd have gone ahead, I would have gone ahead at my own risk, but at least I would have been told. Now, all of this is relevant because a little bit later on in this video, a few more minutes along from where we are now, we come to a large unsealed section. And I repeat, my motorcycle is a Kawasaki Vulcan Voyager. If you don't know that bike, it is there's a little video in the motorcycle section where you can see the bike, but it's a cruiser style motorcycle. It's a 1700 V twin, and it's a very heavy bike, 400 kilos almost wet. When you're on the sealed road like this and you're going along at whatever speed you're going along, above about 30 or 40 kilometres, you don't notice the weight. Everyone notices the weight of their bike when they're slowing down at an intersection or when they're going around a roundabout or something like that. Once you get on the open road, you don't notice the weight of your bike. But once you are on an unsealed road with road tyres on a long wheelbase cruiser style bike, I do anyway, want to slow down to a manageable speed. I don't want to be ripping across the road or the surface at 100 kilometres an hour, probably down to 40 kilometres in some places, maybe even slower, I'm not sure. But you certainly notice the weight of your bike then, and you, well, at least for me anyway, I was very concerned about the tyres losing traction, or me hitting a divot or getting on a loose boulder or something and falling, coming down. Now, I have to say, honestly, that didn't happen. And I made it to the end of both of there's two sections that are unsealed here, and I made it to the end of both sections without any drama. But I can say, without a shadow of a doubt, it was certainly not a pleasant ride. And I would recommend to anybody who was going to take this ride on a sports bike, on a cruiser, or even a touring bike, and you can see the first section of unsealed road, I think I'm on it now, that you do your research and check if this road is sealed before you set off. If it is sealed, then fine, no problem. I don't see why the Road Maintenance Authority or the local council, which I think is the Palarang Shire or something, couldn't put a sign up saying parts of this road unsealed, or gravel road, parts of this road are gravel or something even a bit more explicit saying parts of this road unsuitable for motorcyclists. Now, once the road is sealed, of course, you just take the sign down, but it would have been very handy for me to know that. And as you can see here, and you can see by the footage, the camera's bouncing around because the road is very uneven. I'm sure it's going to be wonderful when it's all done. Lovely drainage on either side of the road here, and nice and wide, and probably even some good shoulders to pull over to if you need to do so. But none of those things are there now, and I certainly did not enjoy that section of the ride at all. And I'm on the second section now of the unsealed road. There are not even any signs warning you there was road work ahead, or I certainly don't recall seeing any at the time. And you can see what I mean about the state of the road at this point. All right, well, this is coming to the end of this particular video, so I'll say thank you again for listening and watching, and I will talk to you when I'm making the next clip, which will perhaps show some more of the unsealed road. Thank you.